Hey, I'm Jill Riley from the Currents Morning Show, and I'm very excited to talk with singer-songwriter a creative writer and poet Arlo Parks, as we have been playing her debut full-length Collapsed in Sunbeams on The Current. And we're going to get a performance and then stick around for my conversation with Arlo Parks.
Hello, KCMP. This is Arlo Parks. It's a pleasure to be playing a few songs for you guys today. I'm going to start off with my single Hope off my brand new album, Collapsed in Sunbeams. It's a song that surrounds the possibility for future joy, and I hope that it moves you in some way during these weird, difficult times. Merely tried to talk the pleasure back into being alive, reminiscing about the apricots and blunts on Peckham Rye. Won't call her friends, 'cause she's ashamed of being locked into bed. Can't feel her legs, and feeling like a liar at best. You're not alone, like you think you are. You're not alone, like you think you are. We all have scars, I know it's hard. You're not alone, you're not alone. You're not alone, like you think you are. You're not alone, like you think you are. We all have scars, I know it's hard. You're not alone. Started sweating bullets when her dad asked, how'd you really feel? She said, I've been feeling like something inside me wants to scream. Won't call my friends, I'm persuaded that they'll leave in the end. Can't feel my legs, I'm feeling like a liar at best. You're not alone, like you think you are. You're not alone, like you think you are. We all have scars, I know it's hard. You're not alone, you're not alone. You're not alone, like you think you are. You're not alone, like you think you are. We all have scars, I know it's hard. You're not alone. I've often felt like I was born under a bad sign, wearing suffering like a silk garment or a spot of blue ink, looking for light and finding a hole where there shouldn't be one. I cannot communicate the depth of the feeling. Truth is, I'm still learning to be open about this. But know that I know and you're not alone. Yeah, know that I know and you're not alone. You're not alone, like you think you are. You're not alone, like you think you are. We all have scars, I know it's hard. You're not alone, you're not alone. You're not alone, like you think you are. You're not alone, like you think you are. We all have scars, I know it's hard. You're not alone. So the next song we're going to be playing is a song called Hurt. It's the first proper song on the album, and it surrounds this quote, pain will either change or end. And I think that holding on to that possibility for joy is something that's been keeping me going over these past few months, and I hope that you see something positive in the song and its message. Charlie drank it till his eyes burned and forgot to eat his lunch. Pain was built into his body, heart so soft it hurt to beat. Oh, wouldn't it be lovely to feel something for once? Yeah, wouldn't it be lovely to feel worth something, huh? I know you can't let go of anything at the moment. Just know it won't hurt so much forever. Won't hurt so much forever. Won't hurt so much. Charlie melts into his mattress, watching Twin Peaks on his ones. Then his fingers find the bottle and he starts to miss his mum. Oh, wouldn't it be lovely to feel something for once? Yeah, wouldn't it be lovely to feel worth something, huh? I know you can't let go of anything at the moment. Just know it won't hurt so much forever. Won't hurt so much forever. Won't hurt so much. Charlie started seeing stars, so stuck on the new J. Paul. Said my clothes are sticking to me, and I can't quite see my walls. Started dreaming of a house with red carnations by the windows, where he didn't feel so small, so overwhelmed by all his flaws. I know you can't let go of anything at the moment. Just know it won't hurt so much forever. Won't hurt so much forever. Won't hurt so much. The last song that I'm going to be playing for you guys is a song called Green Eyes. It's a song about self-discovery and self-acceptance, and I hope that it brings a little bit of nostalgia to you guys as well. Summer in my eyelids, eating rice and beans, painting Kaya's bedroom. Think she wanted green, but the weather puts you on my mind. Dragon fruit and peaches in the wine, kissing circles underneath your eyes. Of course I know why we lasted 2 months. Could not hold my hand in public. Felt their eyes judging our love and baying for blood. I could never blame you, darling. Some of these folks wanna make you cry, but you gotta trust how you feel inside and shine. and shine, yeah. I wish that your parents had been kinder to you. They made you hate what you were out of habit. Remember when they caught us making out after school? Your dad said he felt like he'd lost you, so I know why we lasted 2 months. Could not hold my hand in public, felt their eyes judging our love and baying for blood. I could never blame you, darling. Some of these folks wanna make you cry, but you gotta trust how you feel inside. And shine, and shine, yeah. Some of these folks wanna make you cry, but you gotta trust how you feel inside. And shine, and shine, yeah. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you to my wonderful guitarist, Alex Blake. I hope that when all is safe, then I'll be able to come across the ocean and play for you guys for real. But for now, it's been lovely, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Hey, it's Jill Riley from the Currents Morning Show. And, we have been playing an artist, I think, since the end of last summer. We started playing singer-songwriter Arlo Parks, and we were all kind of like, wow, who is this? Who is this woman? As we were playing the song Hurt, and just like, God, this is such a great groove. And then sometimes when I hear or play new music on The Current, I just assume that the record is going to be coming out right around the corner. But as it should turn out, as we were getting to know the music of Arlo Parks, we were also looking forward to one of the most anticipated full-length records of this year, of the year 2021. And with the new year, the record Collapsed in Sunbeams is out now. And that's very exciting for us to be able to play it for you, but also for Arlo Parks to now be able to talk about the record. And so I would love to welcome Arlo Parks.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you, and looking forward to the day where we can get you into the actual studio or get you on a stage here in Minneapolis, St. Paul. I guess just to start out, for anyone who is, we're all really getting to know you as a musician. Just for a little background, if you could just tell us, where are you from? Where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I've always lived in West London. So that's where I grew up. I'm 20 now, and I've been living kind of in the same home my whole life. My parents are my mum's French and my dad's from Nigeria. And I grew up, it's kind of quite like a sleepy part of town. There's not too much going on. So that's why I kind of took refuge in writing a lot when I was younger.
So when you were younger and you started writing, I mean, clearly there was indications early on that you had the writing bug. How did that all start for you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess when I was 7 or 8, I started writing short stories. And I always just had this strange urge to write things down. I'm still not too sure where that came from. But I would write short stories, about like running away to Australia and wrestling snakes and being a spy. It was all very much like escapism. And then when I got a little bit older, that's when I started using writing as more of a kind of healing mechanism to work through things.
And so short stories, poetry, when did you write your first song? And how is lyric writing different than maybe the short story process or even writing a poem? I mean, the difference between writing poetry and lyrics must be very different.
Yeah, I mean, so I think my first song I ever wrote, I was probably about 14 or 15. And that's when I kind of picked up the guitar and I was teaching myself to produce on GarageBand. And then I guess the difference for me is that there is more of a sense of structure to lyrics for me. I mean, there's more of a sense of, you know, having to put forward like a sentiment or tell a story in a very kind of succinct way. And that's what I kind of love about songwriting, to be honest, is that it kind of gives you the time and the space to format what can be quite a complicated set of emotions into something that feels quite bite-sized, and that can help other people as well.
So you write your first song, you're teaching yourself how to, record it. Gosh, GarageBand, the technology has allowed so many people to express their creativity and actually do recording without having to try to get into a recording studio, especially in the early days. So if you write your first song at 14, at what point were you like, okay, I'm ready to write something, produce it, and then put it out?
Yeah, I mean, I must have been maybe 16 or 17 when I first started actually putting out music on SoundCloud. It had been, like a year and a half of me just figuring it out in my own little personal bubble in my bedroom. And then I remember stumbling across an interview. I'm not too sure who it was, but they said, if you create something that has the potential to help someone else, then you kind of have that duty almost to like put it out into the world. So I started kind of uploading my songs to SoundCloud very hesitantly, and playing a few kind of gigs at like these DIY venues that were around me, where I lived. And it just kind of took off from there, I guess.
Yeah, and when you say it took off, I mean, how did you know it was starting to take off? I guess you put something on SoundCloud and kind of go, okay, well, that's out there in the world. When did you know that, people are listening to this? Or what kind of feedback were you getting? Or what's the indication that things were starting to pick up?
Yeah, I mean, for a long time, there was nobody really listening. I would get like 20 or 30 plays on my songs. And then my songs got kind of played on the radio. We have this thing in the UK, the BBC Uploader, where you can put your songs on this site for free, and then DJs, might listen to it if they like it. And so my song got played on the radio a few times. I got introduced to my manager, and then I spent that year while still being at school just kind of putting together my debut EP. And I think when I put out that first song, Cola, is when, strangers started reaching out to me and being like, this has healed me, this makes me feel good. And that was when I felt like I was doing something real.
Yeah, so Cola was kind of that moment where you could tell things were really picking up and people were responding. Well, here in the U.S., I mean, the first song that I heard from you was the song Hurt. I mean, that was the first song that we added here on The Current. And gosh, I bet we started playing that song. It had to have been at the end of last summer or early fall. And I just remember my first reaction being like, God, this is a groove. Arlo Parks, where did she come from? And just kind of like now finally having the opportunity to get to know you is really great. So Collapsed in Sunbeams, you mentioned that you have a couple of EPs, but this is, the debut full length. How does it feel to have it out there?
I mean, it's very surreal for me, especially as somebody who spent a lot of time kind of collecting vinyl and listening to music in that kind of, album format. I was so kind of nervous to put it out into the world. It felt like almost like a statement of intent, and the response that I've had so far has been incredible, from musicians I really look up to, from my friends, my family, from fans. Everybody seems to have seen the fact that this is really like a part of me. And something I went into making with pure intention. So that's been wonderful.
I love that. And that expression, statement of intent. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that before, but I think that's a great way to describe it. So when you were, kicking around ideas or doing some writing, when did the process of this record first start? Was it before the pandemic? Was it during? I mean, I just think a year ago, is when, at least here in the US, we were starting to kind of whisper around about this virus that we were hearing about, which is just blowing my mind to think that that was a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, so I think it must have been, I started like writing, the first song actually that I wrote was probably Hurt. And I wrote that in January. And I also wrote Green Eyes and Just Go in that time. But the idea of the album was still very nebulous around then. You know, I wasn't even sure I was making a record. I was just making songs. And then in March, which was when we had our first lockdown here in the UK, that's when I started on the album in a more like formal way. I was like, this is what I'm doing now.
How much of the pandemic or solitude or the idea of lockdown, how much of that do you think crept into your work, or did it at all?
I definitely think that it did. I definitely think that it encouraged me to find ways to inspire myself, that it gave me the space to be more introspective and reflective and really take time and think about what I wanted to say with the record. Because I would have had to write it, I think, between tours, you know, if the pandemic hadn't happened. So in a weird way, it gave me the gift of kind of space and time.
Oh, for sure. I mean, even I think a lot of people can relate to that, to not that we wanted a global pandemic to happen. I mean, I would wish this away in a second if I could, but I don't know that I've ever had the time to slow down and kind of learn how to sit with myself, if that makes sense. Just to like sit with myself and be with myself and be a little more introspective.
No, that's so true. And I've been using that phrase a lot, like sitting with myself. I think that especially, you know, being a musician, I spend a lot of time surrounded by others, being on set, going to shoots, doing sessions, but I hadn't actually had the time to just like sit down and enjoy my own company and kind of look at myself without distractions, you know.
I'm talking with Arlo Parks, the new record, debut full-length record, Collapsed in Sunbeams, is out now. And Arlo, I wonder, you know, before the lockdown, had you done a lot of touring? I'm sure that you know, at this time, wish that you could get on the road and now promote the record. But had you done a lot of touring? Because I know that you have a lot of great connections and just friends in the music community and a lot of artists that we play here on The Current.
Yeah, I mean, so I actually hadn't really toured that much. In terms of my own headline support, I got to play all but 2 of the shows. So I've never actually played a headline show in London, and I've never played in America either. And I haven't really traveled that much. And I guess what's nice is that I've got all that to look forward to, I guess.
And who were some of the artists that you did support shows for?
So there's this kind of artist from London his name's Loyal Kana, and he kind of is like a rapper, spoken word artist. And then there's this artist called Jordan Rakai who does more kind of jazz and neo soul. And I was supposed to be touring with Hayley Williams, of course, but I couldn't because of COVID. Yeah.
As in Paramore, Hayley Williams? Is that?
Yeah.
What's your connection to Glass Animals?
Yeah, so Dave, the lead singer, just kind of reached out to me over the first lockdown, and we did this little cover together of Hotline Bling by Drake, just as a bit of fun. And we just kind of ended up staying in touch and becoming really good friends and working together on Tangerine. And just, I mean, his record is like, there's a video of me 16 years old singing Youth in like the basement of this random youth club. And so he's been a big inspiration for me ever since a bit younger. And so it's wonderful to kind of have him as like a friend and a mentor.
They're great. And you know what? I bet it was this time last year that Glass Animals, they were back on tour after they had taken some time off. And I think they were the last in-studio session I did in the building, in a studio. And they've been to The Current a couple times. They've got a big fan base here in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And I love those guys. I think they just have this this positivity about them, but you can also sense how close of friends they are. That there's clearly a bond. That they're friends. I mean, they're also in a band together, but you can tell that they're all pretty close. And I guess do you ever wish that you kind of had that? I mean, have you ever been in a proper band, or have you always been doing this on your own?
Yeah, no, I've never really been in a proper band. I mean, I have a band when I play live, when I play on stage, and I do love that. The idea of being surrounded by people and having energy to bounce off of when you're on stage. But I think because my music comes from a place of very kind of personal stories and personal healing in terms of the actual writing process, I think it's best when I'm by myself.
Mm-hmm. I'm talking with Arlo Parks here on The Current. Now, you've got a song called Hope. And boy, if there isn't a word that has meant more to me than I think it ever has before. Maybe I'm just appreciating the meaning of the word hope. Can you tell me what that song is all about?
Yeah, so I wrote that song for a friend who was like going through a really low period of time, I remember, and I wanted to almost make a song that reminded her of that light at the end of the tunnel, that undercurrent of joy, that sense of things getting better in the future. But then also kind of talking about how hard things can be. So having that sense of honesty, but also that sense of hope in the future.
And I like that, to be able to recognize when times are hard. Sometimes I get met with maybe a pushback, and maybe it's just, the nature of where I'm from and how we're raised, and we're kind of raised to tough things out. Anyway, that's how my generation was raised. But I get kind of this pushback sometimes of like, well, it can always be worse. It's like, well, I don't want it to be worse, but I just want to, again, using that phrase, sitting with things when they're hard and recognizing that they're hard and admitting that they're hard.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that that's kind of at the core of this album, that idea of sitting with feelings and not pushing them away or not devalidating yourself by saying it could be worse, or, because I guess it always could be worse, but acknowledging when you're struggling with something is important, I think, rather than just burying it.
Yeah. So we're, a year into this pandemic, and, just hearing you say light at the end of the tunnel, I mean, I really do believe that we're going to be on the other side of something soon. When you look into the future, are you starting to think about your live show? Is there anything starting to go on the books for the future? Because I know that you've done a few virtual shows, but I bet you're just looking forward to being on an actual stage.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I really want. And I guess for now it is kind of a waiting game in terms of making plans. But as soon as, I am able to travel and all is safe again, then I'm looking to definitely come to the States and hopefully also Australia and Japan in time.
So you told me you haven't toured the States as an artist, but have you been here? Have you ever been to the U.S.?
So I went to LA once when I was 18, and I have a little bit of family. I've got family in New Jersey, in Philadelphia, and in Houston, Texas. So I went to visit them when I was very, very young. I must have been 10 or so I don't really remember. But so I haven't properly been, I guess.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to you, especially coming to Minneapolis, St. Paul. I know we're not on the coast, but you've got you've got a lot of fans here in Minneapolis, St. Paul. A lot of great reaction, and again, just the anticipation of that record. I could really feel that there was an anticipation for Collapsed in Sunbeams. So I'm just really happy to be able to meet you and introduce you to the current audience. And again, that light at the tunnel when we're on the other side of this thing and you can stand on a stage here in the Twin Cities. Again, we're just looking forward to it.
Yeah. I think it's going to be probably one of the most incredible shows yet. So I'm excited.
Things are going to feel different. I think we all got a healthy dose of perspective in the last year.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it for sure. Yeah. You're right.
All right. Arlo Parks, Collapsed in Sunbeams. And I know that I wanted to mention this on the song Green Eyes. We also played the artist Clairo. I know her song Bags quite well. How did you connect with Clairo?
Yeah, so I had met her after her show in Shepherd's Bush in London. before, the pandemic struck. And I'd always been a massive fan of her work, and I wanted her to be part of the record in some capacity. And so we kind of worked virtually. She sent me over like the harmonies and threw on this little like spontaneous guitar part that I thought was really cool. And yeah, she was really inspirational to me also in that thing that we were talking about earlier in terms of creating magic out of just like garage bands and a computer. And I really respect her as an artist.
Yeah, it's great. And I think that there's something that, anyone who wants to make music or do something creative, to know that maybe somebody listening or watching this right now is like, well, I've always wanted to make music, but I don't know how to go about it. But the tools are out there. And thankfully for the technology, I mean, just that's kind of inspiring to know that anybody can give it a go.
Yeah, definitely. Anybody can give it a go. And when you think about all your favorite musicians, at some point they didn't know what they were doing either. At some point they were just figuring it out. So I think it's important to bear that in mind, and that, we've got the internet at our fingertips. So, anything is possible, really.
Yeah, I was kind of laughing to myself the other morning. I was talking about an artist. Like, I keep saying, well, here's a song that went viral on TikTok. And I'm like, God, the world has changed so much. It's like not a radio hit, but it's like it went viral on Instagram or TikTok. And it's just, and recognizing that the world is changing in that way, and the game is changing, and how people actually listen to their music. So again, I think for anybody that wants to do it, I think it's like we're so connected now in this world that, it just takes some, like maybe just a few people noticing, and then more and more people noticing, and then one day you're Arlo Parks and you're talking to us here on The Current, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's been great talking with you. Yeah, we look forward to the day you can be here. I know it's probably difficult as an artist. Like, you have this album, and I'm sure at some point you're going to be thinking about kind of moving on from the album, or thinking about what you want to create next. So I'm sure that it's strange to be in this position of kind of having this waiting game of, when can I play this record for people on the road? Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely strange, but I think that, I know that when I do get to play those shows, people will have lived with these songs for a while, and so it will make it even more special. And B, as you say, I'm just kind of thinking about how I'm going to evolve creatively. Like, I'm just spending my time recharging and just creating things for the sake of it, and just seeing where things go.
Sounds great. Well, good luck this year. And again, we'll see you on the other side, all right? Arlo Parks, Collapsed In Sunbeams is the debut record, and I really appreciate you talking with The Current.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.